LMJ. This is Real Talk Wednesdays, and I am here with Pastor Townsend. Real Talk Wednesdays is where the people's opinion matters. And today we're talking about voting and culture. And I told you this is the second episode. Last week we talked about blended families, and so just giving the culture a way to tap into different areas. I don't want to talk church all the time. I want to just talk about some of the real topic issues. And so we're coming into this voting season, and I thought that this would be essential and important for you to be on here, because I remember when you started Rock the Vote, right?
Inspire the Vote.
Inspire the Vote. Mm-hmm. How many years ago was that?
2012.
Yeah, so I remember when you started Inspire the Vote, you were definitely ahead of your time. But I was so encouraged about that when I first saw it, when you were podcasting yourself. Yeah. You've always been a man that's been a little bit ahead of the time.
Yeah.
But when
Marquise Willis just podcast me.
Yeah, so you started Inspire the Vote, encouraging people to vote and to become a part and to understand voting. Well, voting culture has changed in the last 9 years since you started Inspire the Vote. How has it changed, or what type of transitions have you seen it make?
In my estimation, it goes up and down.
Okay.
You know, it has changed, but I think with each generation, or as we all get older, we notice that the younger people continue to be not as engaged.
So not as active in voting.
Not as active as we would like them to be. So.
But are they tuned into the issues?
No, not as much as, in my view, not as much as they should be.
Okay.
I think there is a large base that is tuned in, and but if you took a poll, probably,
yes,
or just noticed on MSNBC the other day, they were on a college campus of, it may have been Nevada.
Okay.
Like that. But anyway, they're asking kids 18 and 19 years old, you know, how they feel about voting,
yes,
issues and things of that nature. Many of them didn't even know that it's kind of like an apathy among younger voters.
And voting apathy is kind of like when you're unconcerned about what's currently going on with our laws or with our voting. If you're just tuning in,
yes,
my special guest.
Better than either way to go.
My special guest is Pastor Dwight Townsend with Longley Baptist Church, and we're talking about voting and culture and how important we are in a voting season. And if you didn't know or understand how important voting is, when we leave you today, I'm hoping that you're going to understand how your vote impacts laws. Let's give a little history here. 1965, Civil Rights Act in place so that we can vote. Right? That we don't have to take a reading test, these other things to secure that we're educated, but that so we can vote. Right. That within itself, for me, right, is what encourages me to make me want to vote, for the fact that someone told me I couldn't vote.
Right.
You know?
Yes, exactly.
That should encourage anybody, minority, anybody, woman, that I want to vote just for the fact that you told me I couldn't vote. Right. And now that I have the right to vote, it's important for me to get the vote. But we don't see that in our community. Why?
In our community, we are not as informed as we need to be. In the 1965 Voting Rights Act was voted in, the culture was a lot different. We were really engaged, younger people at that time, really engaged, galvanizing the vote, meeting in churches, meeting in the basements of churches, meeting in community centers and halls, and wherever we could meet so that we could galvanize and continue to fight. Simply because they didn't want us to have the vote.
Yes.
And when someone doesn't want you to have something, I think it causes you to fight for it a little bit more.
Yes.
So we came together, and then finally I think it's Lyndon B. Johnson that signs it into order, the 65 Voting Rights Act, and that has been carried on since then. But as you stated, just knowing that one fact should cause us to want to really get out and vote.
But it seems like the opposite. It seems like that we're in circumstances, situation where we've been so comfortable with the fact that we can vote, right? That we're really not understanding the seriousness or how important our vote is, right? to the laws, to the cities. We got a mayor race coming up here in Little Rock that could change the face of Little Rock. And I'm not just talking about race. I'm just talking about the culture of Little Rock within itself, with everything that Frank believes, everything that he's trying to implement, everything that Warren believes, because we got some candidates in this race.
Great
It's some great candidates in this race. And so it could change the face of what Little Rock looks like. If Little Rock voters are not going to get out and vote, they won't have absolutely anything to complain about. I am big on, if you don't vote, then you don't get to complain. You don't get to say absolutely anything until you've asserted your vote and given voice to it. And I think we don't understand how important our vote is, or how significant it is in order for us to change culture.
Yeah, and we don't. We're constantly making strides to make sure that people know the importance of voting. And it's all kind of, I don't say it's all, but most of the times it's centered around issues. Depending on what's going on at that time, if something is hot, if it's a movement, if it's something that's really affecting us, then we'll kind of get engaged. But then once that movement has died down, then we kind of go back to just kind of like, chilling out. Yeah. But as long as there's a movement or something going on, some big issue that the vote can be, that can energize the vote, then we'll be engaged. But then after that, that kind of trickles down, then we just kind of go back to being whatever.
Yeah, because I could publish a video or a podcast on some drama, right?
Yes.
And people are going to be educated, they're becoming informed, and they're going to be serious, and they'll pass this drama. I want to drop this video on about how important your vote is, and people are like, oh, it doesn't necessarily impact me, but it impacts me. Voting is your right afforded to every citizen. It's your voice. And I think we've become too comfortable to think that my voice isn't going to be heard anyway. Well, I'm going to put some pressure on you because I want my voice to be heard. Yeah. And with some of the things that we've seen, our voices need to be heard. I was talking to a young man the other day. He's 25, never registered to vote. Never registered to vote. And when I brought it up, I said, why? He was like, oh, the only reason I'm doing it now is because he didn't like what happened in the current presidency.
See, again, the center is around an issue. It's the current move of the day, And so because he was probably because of he didn't like what was going on, he gets energized and get involved. But what we need people to do is to stay involved.
Yes.
Okay, it's all good to jump in and vote because you don't like this issue, you don't like what's going on. I'm going to go out and vote. That's great, but stay engaged after that.
Yes.
We need them to stay engaged after that because things continue to come down the pipe.
Correct.
Yeah. So you need to continue to be engaged.
I've been watching a few things. I was watching, there's some new, even in Arkansas, there's 4 constitutional laws that are on the ballot to be posed. Well, if you don't understand, I think that's the thing that we take on or we say or we use ignorantly. Well, I don't understand it anyway. Yeah. So what difference does it make for me to vote? And it's like, attend some of the forums, tap into your politicians, get your big girl, big guy shoes on, and go and ask the right questions. It's not enough for you to say, I just don't understand what it is anyway, so what does it matter if I vote? Tap into some of your local churches who are progressive, and then just stop and have a conversation with someone and say, you know what, I really don't get this, but I need your help to understand it. One of the current constitutional things impacts workmen's compensation, limitations. Some of our attorneys limited to the amounts that they can receive of certain things in workmen's compensation. So you need to know that the Arkansas Constitution is about to change. How would you encourage someone? Or what news stations? Let me go there, because I think we need to tap into the news, even just simply watching the news. And a lot of times, most people don't even watch the news now.
Yeah, you need to watch it. There was a young lady, I can shout her out, Sean Strickland.
Okay.
She's in Fayetteville. She talked about one time she made a post, and it was so true, and that was, she said, listen, I know you may not like what's going on in the world sometimes, she said, but listen, pay attention, watch the news. Yes. You're going to be upset, it may tick you off, whatever, but still watch it so you can know what's going on. Yeah. So whatever news channel you decide to watch, that's up to you. but also just engage yourself, as you stated, with your elected officials. That's what they're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Call them. They have
Yes.
they have lines, they have numbers that you can call them, email them, stay
Yes.
in contact with them. They can get you They can get you the information about the issues. They can email it to you. They can provide you a pamphlet or a flyer or
Yes.
something. Or they can say, hey, we're having this town hall meeting. We're having this session to come up at this certain time. Come and be involved. You know, and come and sit in and hear the issues so you'll know them yourself.
You moderated a forum recently. What was that forum?
I moderate so many forms.
I know. I don't know if this was the current governor's. Was it for the current governor's race?
Yes. It was the governor's race at New Hope Baptist Church.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. We did a candidate forum for all of the gubernatorial candidates for governor.
Man, it was packed.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I came in late and I was like, look at this,
it
the
came.
attendance here.
Yes. Yes.
But you can tell the people wanted to be informed.
Mm-hmm.
In 2012, the American Psychological Society researchers have given us information that says that individuals born between the 80s and 90s are not interested. So the facts of what you said are not really interested in vote. They're more interested in culture. They're more interested in being more famous. They're more interested in social media. But they're not being social, but they're not interested in voting. And that is a huge population of what are those are millennials?
Yes. They're those millennials born in the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, those millennials.
And so if those millennials, that's a big population of millennials, and they're not interested in voting, that either skews how things happen.
Yeah, the danger of that is that generation is what our world will be left to. It's who they're the ones our world will be left to.
Oh my gosh.
Because our veterans are, and our baby boomers and veterans are moving off the scene.
Yes.
So the world is going to be in the hands of millennials. They really have an opportunity to change the world if they stay engaged, stay involved.
Yeah, see, and I have millennial children. I have right at the cusp of the beginning of that 90s, and then I have cousins who are also born in those 80s. And I promise you, having conversations with my sons about politics, they're really not interested. And so I got this little bitty generation that I'm trying to make more informed because I want them to understand this is your right. I was actually really impressed because Josiah just ran for student council president. He didn't care whether he got it or not, right? He just wanted to run. And so we did posters and we talked about voting and we talked about representation, and it was a very good chance and time for me to be able to teach him about voting. If you're just tuning in, my guest is Pastor Dwight Townsend of the Longley Baptist Church, and we're talking about voting and culture. So tell me, in relationship to voting and the church, because for me this always gets a little church is kind of twofold, which is crazy for me because the church was really the foundation for how we got a lot of stuff started.
Exactly.
It was the backbone.
Yes, it was the
like it was the backbone of how we had meetings
of our communities.
Yes.
Yes, it's how we did it. When you do research on the civil rights movement, the churches were they were the foundation. They were the meeting places.
Yes.
Of course, as I stated earlier, where we galvanized the vote, got together to do whatever we're going to do. The churches. What we're trying to do now with churches is to make sure that people in the community as well as the world understand that we are not just satisfied or content with having good church on Sundays and then dispersing into our respective corners and then leaving the community to just kind of fend for itself.
Yes.
The church must be involved in informing the community, making sure that they are aware of everything that's coming down the pipe. Now, you may not like it. You may not say we shouldn't mix church and politics and all of that, but I think it is our responsibility to make sure that the people in the pews understand what's going on. These are voters. These are people that work in the communities, work in corporate work, and so they need to understand because it's going to affect them.
Yeah, and I think my position is different. I think the church should be involved. I think the church should be spirit, soul, and body, and not just your physical body, but your local body, your community, and everything that we're connected to, so that people can become sound mind and make sound decisions. You and I both know individuals that are lower in income are less likely to vote. The church needs to become the voice to encourage those lower in income to vote. A friend of mine was out registering individuals to vote, and he said you should have heard the excuses that people were saying. Oh no, I can't vote.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh no, I'm not gonna vote. Oh, I can't vote. People were talking about being a felony. Now I got a felon and I'm not gonna be able to vote, or that's going to add something to, people they're gonna find out something about me. And I'm like, as a felon, you need to vote, because some of the laws that are being passed, you need to have your people voted. Can felons vote in the state of Arkansas?
They can vote as long as their court costs, as long as they're not on probation or they're in their court costs, no fees. They don't have any outstanding fees. I don't say court costs, I don't say court fees. Excuse me, rather. And they have no outstanding warrants, anything of that nature, they can vote.
Okay, so and there's the word. If you're a felon, or someone is a felon can still vote here in the state of Arkansas.
If you're clear,
you can vote.
Clear, you don't owe the state any money. I
don't know if it's owe the state money, but I get it. You're in a position to be able to vote, and I think you need to not. We've got to take away the excuses, and that's the thing I'm having a hard time in our community. We make so many excuses, and then when we see these laws and these monumental changes, we're frustrated and we're upset, but we didn't get the information we needed so that we could impact policy. Put some pressure on your legislators. Put some pressures on your representatives. Tell them you don't like what you see coming down the pipe. Tell them you don't like what's being said. I don't know. I've been thinking about some things, even in perspective where sickle cell is concerned. I might just go sit out on the Capitol. I don't know. It's just exercising your First Amendment truths, your rights, and what you're available to do. And I think we're not seeing enough of that rise out of our community that says, this is what I want my community to look like. And I think that's what you're saying. I want my community to look like this.
Yes. There are people out there, on the front lines, they're fighting, but we need to make sure that we're helping them.
Yes.
We need to make sure that they know that they have our support. And if we're not, of course, if you're not going to be out there, you need to make sure they have your support. And then, you need to join in.
Yes.
Just, as you state, we just got to engage yourself. No one can force you, but you need to engage yourself. I remember when I first started this journey, it affected me because I was in a voting line. First time I voted, I was in a voting line.
Yes.
And when I got, it took a long time. It was raining outside. People, kind of getting upset, getting frustrated. Well, I got to vote, but people behind me did not get to vote because the precinct said that they ran out of ballots.
Oh, wow.
Ran out of ballots.
Wow.
And so you would think that they had enough ballots for that campaign or for that particular election or whatever, but I saw it firsthand. And so that's what really started me to, getting involved with this. And so, it just kind of burned me up. And so when you start looking at all of the inside things, the backdoor things that happen to try to suppress the vote, try to keep a certain people from voting, certain races from voting, disenfranchisement, all the things they try to do to keep you from voting, ID laws, and all different kinds of things that keep you from voting.
We have an ID law back coming up this time.
Yeah, I think it's on the ballot.
It's on the ballot now. Another identification law is on the ballot now. Dwight D. Eisenhower said something specific. The future of the republic is in the hands of the voter.
Of the American voter.
Of the American voter.
Yes.
But for some reason we haven't bit into that. We haven't taken that to be our truth. I don't know. We should see the monumental changes here in Arkansas. I mean, marijuana hit the ballot. We went from not having a lottery here, even though we are a typically red Republican state with very traditional and core values. When people want things into office, they push it, and when they push it, so think about how that would impact some of these major issues. We're seeing the re-emergence of hate. You and I know this.
Yes.
And it's blatant.
Yeah, blatant.
It isn't subtle. It used to
Yeah.
be subtle.
Yeah.
It's very blatant. I don't care if it's women. I don't care if it's
It's
gay rights. I don't care. It's not.
overt.
It's overtly there, disrespectful, doesn't care, and it's emerging very boldly. With this being in place, that within itself
That's
should
important.
encourage us
Yes.
as minorities,
Yes.
as women, right?
Right.
To
Right.
get out and fight for what we believe in.
Yes, yes, that should encourage us, even more, because when you see things like this, it just kind of, if it doesn't, I like to always say, if it doesn't, I won't say make you sick, but if it doesn't hit you or bother you, you kind of won't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But sometimes when it hits people, it hits them at home, that kind of causes them to kind of go out. But the importance of the whole thing is, we have to vote to change any of these things.
Yeah.
Any of these things that we want to change, whether it's for whose ever rights you want to change, it's only going to happen at the ballot box, because that's why midterms are so important.
But people don't vote as much in midterms as they do in the
No, we'll come out for the general election. We saw that with the Obama election, 2008. We saw that people came out in record numbers.
Yes.
But if you remember, I think right after he won the presidency, we lost like the House and the Senate. I think we lost those midterm elections.
Yes.
And so he's having to fight his whole presidency against a majority.
But do you think that, and I'm gonna be a little messy, that the reason was as well because we had a black president. A lot of people, I don't feel like even understood his policy, understood a lot. They're just like, man, we putting this brother in the house. We coming out, we voting. People would never register. We gonna put this. We gonna put this. We got a shy. He a shy brother. We gonna put this brother in the house. But the reality became more. It's more than just about putting a brother in the house, or it's more about putting a particular party in the house. It's about fair representation, so that your life can be impacted for the greater good. If we don't watch what's going in, I always like to say, a lot of times we become apathetic, we don't pay attention, right? And then they slide in things in the back door. And when things are sliding in the back door, then we can't complain, or we don't necessarily know what's going on around us.
But listen, how do you think they're sliding them in the back door? They're sliding them in the back door through midterm elections.
Wow.
Right? Because your midterm elections, they decide who your senators, your representatives are going to be. These are the people who are writing the laws.
Yes.
The president doesn't write law.
Yes.
So he establishes policy, but didn't write law. So your legislators, they write law.
Yes.
Right. So that's why it's important, so that we know put the right people in to send to Washington, and then in our local races here in our state, that affects us here. Our mayor's race, our state representatives, and state senators race, our judges race, all of those elected officials on the local level.
Yes.
That decides our taxes, that decides our living wages, just our comfortability in the city, construction, all different types of things. So we have to pay attention to the midterms, because that's where laws get written.
And I think if we're not paying attention to it, then that's what we're missing. And then we're doing a disservice to ourselves. If you ever wanted to be community-minded or impact your community, for me, the easiest way to do it is get out and vote.
Yeah,
like, just get out and vote. And then, like I told you, my whole thing is, if you're not gonna do anything about it, then don't mumble and complain, don't Facebook post, don't tag people, don't create this riot if you're not going to get in a position to do something about it. Your vote matters if you're a minority, your vote matters if you're a woman, your vote matters if you're man. It doesn't matter. Your vote significantly matters, and it doesn't matter your educational level. A lot of times people will disqualify themselves or push back from the things they need to because they don't feel like, I just don't get it. I've had to reread ballots before, time and time again. I don't want that to be discouraging. I don't want your economic situation to discourage you. We both from the East End of Little Rock, right?
Oh yeah.
Right?
That's right.
We both from the East End of Little Rock. We both had certain circumstances we were born into. I come from the house of a single mother. Every decision that I made after then was let me put myself in a position so that I can make impact in my community, because we're created to make impact. We're not just created to be here to exist. And I think until the pressure, you shouldn't wait until the pressure is put on you.
No, stay involved. Don't wait until the pressure. Get out there and do it. Create it for yourself.
Yeah, and we don't even know, even at the end of this presidency, a lot, we're just focused on this president. I want you to get outside. I want you to focus on these midterm elections. I want you to know who's going and coming into the office. You need to focus on your mayor race, right? Yes. You need to, if you're in the city of Little Rock, you need to go look at all the candidates possible and say, you know what, this is the best candidate for me. These elections are coming up faster than they're going to be here. And once they're here, you should can they still register to vote?
No.
So registration to vote is closed.
Yeah, the deadline to register to vote was yesterday. It was Tuesday, I think, October 9th.
Okay, so if you didn't register to vote by October the 9th, you're not going to be able to vote in these upcoming elections. And so that should encourage you the next time to get in place to vote. If you're a parent and you have these millennial children, sit down and have conversations with them. I think since cable, DirecTV and all these things took over, a lot of people don't really watch a lot of the news, but you can now catch all of that stuff in apps. There's no excuse. On your phone, on everything. I have the boys watch things from time to time because I want them to understand. I actually took them to Washington with me for a day of advocacy. Yeah,
that's great.
I took them for a day of advocacy. We got to tour. They got to go into the House of Representatives. They got to go into the Senate. At that time that we were up there, they were in legislation, so they got to actually see everything in action. And I wanted to give them that because I wanted them to understand this is essential.
Yes, it can impact a child's life.
Yes.
A lot of people who grow up to be senators, representatives, elected officials, it started because someone took them to the place where they could see where laws were passed, were created and passed, and all that, and so it sparked a fire and interest in them. So that's why we have to expose the kids, exposure for our kids.
Change the culture.
We expose them, and then once we expose them, then they can use it to change culture.
Even our local capital, taking kids to tour and be a part and look at, or a local senator's office or a local representative. I'm big about exposure. My Judah is probably the one that would do something. He is very legalistic. He thinks very literal. He's very entrepreneurial. He comes home every day identifying whether or not something was done at school is racist, if it's fair, if it's injustice. He is very literal. So I just keep watching him. I'm like, okay, here's my future attorney or my future representative or my judge, because he's he's looking at it. He looks at the law. If I tell him to do something, he needs to know why.
Yes.
And he's not trying to be disrespectful.
He just wants to know why.
Explain to me. Like today, he was in a full conversation. He didn't have recess, and he thought he needed to play the video game. And I said, that has nothing to do with recess. He said, then what am I supposed to do? Because you took away my recess time when you checked me out of school earlier. And I just got quiet for a minute. I was like, you got a pretty good argument.
He's reclaiming his time.
He was reclaiming his time. Well, we're just about out of time. This is Pastor Dwight Townsend with Longley Baptist Church. This is Real Talk with LMJ, encouraging you to understand voting as your right, voting as your responsibility. Don't shun away from what we have going currently, thinking that your voting doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a small position. I don't care if it's a city council position and you're in that area. Get to know. Get to know who's running.
Get to know who's running. Go when you see. Listen, what happens in our culture is you can have a concert. Of course, we're going to pack it out.
Yes.
Someone is coming to town. The lines are going to be long. The tickets, people are going to do it. They're going to support it. But if you do something of this nature, like a forum, a platform, where people kind of say, I'm tired of the neighbors having forums. They're all going to do what they want to do anyway. But listen, go make yourself informed, engaged. People don't know. Here's something significant that I just want to drop. Jurors are decided by registered voters. Jurors.
So if I'm registered or not is going to determine whether or not I get jury selection?
Yes. And the law says that if you commit a crime, of course, you are to be judged by
a group of peers. That's part of our law.
Jury of your peers.
Yes.
But a lot of, especially minorities, cannot get on jury duty because we're not registered to vote. Yeah.
So then you don't necessarily get judged by a jury of your peers, which in fact could mean that you don't get a really fair representation at your trial. And I know for some of us, they're like, well, I ain't committed crime, so it doesn't matter. It does matter whether you committed the crime or not, because we've seen such injustice.
Yes.
We've seen such injustice lately.
Yes. Listen, if your vote wasn't powerful, if it could not make a change, if it could not make an impact, then people would not be trying to write laws to take it away from you.
Ooh, that's good.
Or to make it hard for you to vote.
Yes.
IDs and all, tax fees
Yes.
and all different kinds of, just loopholes. I would say to each person who is out there who's a registered voter, or if you're not a registered voter, don't be discouraged. Don't give up.
Yes.
Because you see a roadblock or something small in your way. Right now, if there is a law passed or some stipulation or condition that we must adhere to in order to vote, listen, do it.
Yes.
Right now until we can get it changed, do it. Don't
Yes.
stay at home. So
go get your ID.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
a valid ID
Yeah,
or whatever
yeah.
they're requiring in the new
Because
thing.
any little thing will keep us at home. Any little thing will make us stay at home. And so.
But that's what it's designed to do.
It's designed to do. If they
Yeah.
put a roadblock there, we'll say, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
no. But fight through it. Adhere to the law. Whatever you need to do to vote, make sure you cast that vote because it is your right.
Yeah, and rides to the polls and different things, just different things. Don't let
Yes.
it be excuse. Put the energy in it.
Call us. If you need a ride, call somebody. Call a
Yeah,
church.
call a church.
A community center, call
Yes.
a senator, call an elected official, call a representative, call somebody.
Yeah, somebody will get you to the polls.
Yeah.
It's usually to say something about I don't have transportation. We'll get you. We even might need to start somewhere. We'll have a little section where we can babysit your kids while you go to the poll. I don't know. You can take kids to the poll.
Yeah.
So don't let something discourage you from your vote. Well, we are out of time. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Real Talk with LMJ. Today we are talking about voting and culture and just how the culture has changed. If you know a millennial, you are a millennial, you're the parent of the millennial, encourage them to vote. Encourage them to do simple things like just watch the news.
Yeah. It starts right there.
Yeah, watch the news, understand policy, read and understand your how much your vote means, how much your vote impacts, and what's going on in your community. It is not enough for you to say, I just don't understand, or I just don't know, or it's not affecting you. It may not affect you now, but it will definitely affect you eventually, and you better take that into consideration.
Yes.
You better take that into consideration.
Please. I know you may be apathetic about it now. You may feel like, hey, there's just, because a lot of young people feel like, well, it's just a bunch of old white guys,
yes.
Up at the capitals or up at the in the nation's capital,
yes.
deciding laws in a back room,
yes.
and the deal's already done, and so it's whatever. But listen, it's going to affect you down the road.
Affects your taxes and everything else, so make sure you do. Well, thank you, Pastor Townsend, for catching us and being here with us on Real Talk LMJ. We'll see you next Wednesday at 12 noon, right?
Yeah, I'll be back too.
He's gonna come back. He's not coming back, but I'm definitely gonna bring him back later. We're gonna come back next Tuesday at 12 noon and talk about generational wealth and what type of future are you creating for your legacy. What are you leaving? And a lot of times people think just because they have a job and they're teaching their kids to work hard, right? And they're teaching their kids to go to school and get a degree and accumulate a lot of student loans, that's teaching them legacy or generational wealth. And that's not teaching them legacy or generational wealth. You need to be teaching them how to build. You need to